There is no theme that I'm more excited to see get support than spirit monsters. Now, I love a lot of archetypes. I love Phantom Knights and Volcanics and Dinosaurs and a whole slew of other strategies that I've played over the years, but none of them have been quite as captivating as spirits. When Aratama and Nikitama first came out, I was super excited to play I thought, one of the best rogue strategies of the time, and consistently make interesting rank 4s and dig through your deck with Nikitama in a time where those types of effects weren't super popular. And the fact that you could use some really cool stuff like stacking your deck with the Volvo Chain and then immediately drawing with Nikitama to draw what you stack to the top, I thought that was really cool. And when the Shino Bird cards came out, I honestly never thought that that would ever happen. I didn't think Spirits would get any more support. They came at such a surprise to me, and I've talked about them a lot. I've done some deck profiles on them. I've done some combo videos on them, but I'm so excited that the Shino Birds came out. It was a new layer to the theme that I already loved and did so many things that I wanted it to do. The rituals combo not only with Brilliant Fusion, but with pre-preparation of rites, and they add a totally new dimension to spirits. Now, it's been pretty calm for a while now, since we've gotten the last spirit support, but out of nowhere, we got this guy, and it's called Amano Iwado or something. I'm sure maybe it won't get a different name in TCG. I know like Amaterasu didn't get a different name. But yeah, I'm really bad at pronouncing card names as always. But we got this thing. It's a giant rock with a face, and boy is it good. So it's a level 4 Earth Rock type Spirit Effect monster. It actually has the same stats as like Rock Sun monsters at 1900 attack points and 1200 defense points. And like all spirit monsters, it can't be special summoned. And then during the end phase, if it was normal summoned or flip face up, you bounce it back to the hand. The important part is that while it's on the field, it has a continuous effect, sort of like a better Majesty's Fiend that says monsters cannot activate effects except spirit monsters. Now, if you don't play spirits, maybe you think this is only good on your own turn, because the play then would be like, oh, if you normal summon this, then like, no, you can't your opponent can't activate like hand traps or something. Like, I'm sure that's like a good idea. And while that is sort of true, I think what's most important about this card is that it finally gives a reason to play or to summon things with the Shino Baron and Shino Baroness. Now, if you don't know, what they do when they're summoned is, Shino Baron can bounce monsters and then special summon a spirit from your hand, and Baroness bounce spells and traps and special summons a spirit from your deck. Now, this ignores the summoning condition, obviously, because no spirit monsters can be special summoned, and, except a choice few. But the important part is that when a spirit monster is special summoned, it actually doesn't bounce back to the hand during the end phase. Now, prior to this rock thing being released, there weren't a lot of great ways to capitalize on this. The times that I found myself using the most was just to summon another Nikitama from my hand just to draw some cards. Ideally, I suppose you can end with like Shinobird Crane, but when I found myself playing spirits more and more, I noticed that I stopped going into Shinobird Crane. I just didn't make it very often. I just stopped going into it as often as I thought I would go into it, and it got to the point where if I wasn't a special summoning a monster from my hand or deck just to immediately exceed summon, I just didn't use the effect, because there was nothing good to leave on the field. But with this rock thing in the game, there's actually some good things to leave on the field. Because what happens if you don't know, so the rituals, when they bounce cards at the end phase, you get tokens. So then you have 2 tokens, and then this guy, and hopefully if you drew Urgent Ritual art, you can then, the main play is that you use Urgent Ritual art to either banish cards in your grave or tribute the on-field tokens to re-summon the ritual that you originally summoned. And when that happens, prior to this card being released, you were hopefully just taking out some cards on your opponent's field, and sometimes they had a response, and it was really weak to Zodiac Trident because they could just pop whatever you summoned. But with this card, it makes it actually really unfair. Maybe not broken, but definitely not a combo that I would call fair by any means. Because if you end your turn with this guy and then your opponent goes, you can use Urgent Ritual Art to bring out your Shino Baron or Shino Baroness and either bounce 3 monsters or spin 3 spells and traps into the deck. And yeah, that's kind of absurd when your opponent then can't respond to it. It's maybe not at the level of Kieran was in Metal Foes, but it's pretty similar in that this thing, once it hits the field, it's really hard for your opponent to deal with. The good news as well is that in Birds, you actually don't use a lot of cards besides Spirit Monster effects. So, like, the only other main effects that you'd be using are hand traps, and that's pretty much it. Because the only other monsters you use besides spirits are Gemknight, Seraphonite, and Kaijus, but this doesn't really interfere with either of those, so you're good there. And it doesn't restrict you from, like, anything else. You can just use all your spirit effects. So all the Aratama and the Nikitama and the Shino birds, those are all fine. You can just keep using them no matter what, and that's not a problem. It does sort of restrict you from using your Exceed monster effects, but that doesn't really matter. And I found myself in plenty of games only using the main deck monsters effects anyway. Just going into the extra deck stuff just to get the extra Nikitama draw. But usually the ritual monsters are actually just enough to kill your opponent, so you don't have to worry about this interfering with any of your other cards. Will this see play in anything else? Probably not. It's neat that you can normal summon this and your opponent can't respond with anything like Dryden or any hand traps, but it also restricts your own cards, so if you're not playing spirits, this card's pretty bad, honestly. And also the fact that even in spirits, if you normal summon it, it's not really that great unless you can special summon it and leave it on the field. Because this isn't really what you want to be wasting your normal summon on. You really want to be using Nikitama and Aratama for that. And well, I suppose if you're in like a really bad game state, or a simplified game state, I should say, not necessarily a bad one, but if you had like Nikitama on this, I suppose that'd be a way to make a quick rank 4, but that's not really what I would be playing this card to do. As far as how many of this card to play, I'd say 1 to 2. It sort of depends on what you want to do. If you think about spirits, they actually have a lot of ways to get to cards in your deck. Pre-preparation of rites is a great deck thinner, and then Aratama can add whatever spirit monster you want. Nikitama gets you extra draws, and then obviously, most importantly, Shino Baroness actually brings this out from the deck as long as you can shuffle back at least one back row. And in my mind, that would be the way that you'd be summoning this most often, is by special summoning from the deck with Shino Baroness. Now, the extra important part that I wanted to talk about, and the main reason I'm making this video, is that Shino Birds and spirits in general, I think, are actually quite powerful going into Link format. Now, a lot of people have been talking about different ritual decks for Link format, and that doesn't surprise me. When you restrict all the extra deck stuff and make those types of decks more inconsistent, then the next way to go would be another summoning mechanic that's powerful, but that isn't restricted by Link summoning. And to me, ritual summoning is what I think of. Necrods are obviously a pretty good pick. Herald of Perfection decks might be not completely terrible, but I've only seen a few people talking about spirits, and I actually think that they could be a really big sleeper hit. What's going to happen, what usually happens every time a new mechanic is released, but especially in the case of Link summoning, is that there's usually a 6-month period where there aren't any completely broken Link monsters, and the decks that are thriving are the ones that can function under the new mechanics, but without relying on Link summoning. And by that I mean, if you look in the OCG results right now, most of the decks that are doing good are like, well, before the OCG ban list, that is, it was just like Zodiacs and True Dracos. And that's because it wasn't because they could use like the best Link monsters and they could Link summon the most. It's just that they were the least affected by it. And in that regard, I think that spirits and Shino Birds are actually quite well positioned to maybe not win a YCS, but a regional qualifier for sure, or perhaps getting your invite, and definitely at like local tournaments before people start to catch on to what the best Link cards are. I really like this deck right now, and I think even before this card was announced, I thought spirits were pretty good heading into Link format, but now with this card released, and I mean, I think we get this in the second Link summoning set, so yeah, Circuit Break. So it's not like we're waiting forever for it, and it's in the core set, so we won't have to wait like 5 years like with Fight for Patchwork. But it's in the core set. It's going to be coming really soon. I guess that's the December set or the November. It's November or December, whatever time those sets come out. And yeah, I'm excited. I don't know if this means we're going to get more spirit support, but even if we don't, I think as a 1 or 2 of, it makes a huge difference in protecting your setups in spirits, because they kind of lack the defense up until this point. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you later, and hopefully you also enjoy Looking forward to my Spirit deck profile when this card does come out eventually. See you guys later. Bye.